Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
They say that everything is bigger in Texas. The ranches, the 10-gallon hats and the hair they hide, and even the state capitol just down the road. And so it is with tonight's venue, the Circuit of the Americas, home of the United States Formula One Grand Prix since it opened to the public in November 2012. Not only does it have Big Red, the 133-foot rise that leads to Turn 1, but it has the Formula One attendance record with 440,000 spectators descending upon Elroy Road over a 3-day period just this past October. Like I said, everything's bigger. And so hi everybody, and welcome to the Ray Esports Racing League's winter season, brought to you by Grassroots Motorsports Magazine, Spec Racer Sports, Common Gear, and new this week, and I want to welcome them to the Ray Esports family. We've got Grass Paddock Motorsports, all of them here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and joining me in the announce booth for week number 2 of this young season is DJ Clark with Jonathan Grabowski in the virtual production trailer. And for those of you joining us for the very first time, we've got 9 weeks of action across 4 classes: Spec Racer Ford, Spec Miata, and new this season, 2 touring classes featuring the Volkswagen TDI Cup car and the brand new to the platform Toyota GR86 Cup car. They'll be joining us, by the way, next week. And so each one of our classes, they're going to race 6 times over the course of the season. And so on tap tonight will be 2 20-minute sprint races. First up will be Spec Miata for their first outing this season, while race number 2 will see the Spec Racer Fords attack this challenging track. And like I said, if you're looking for some great touring car action, first off, obviously stick around here tonight. We've got a great schedule on tap for you here tonight. But then, of course, make sure to join us next Tuesday night when those tin tops they're going to take to the track at the National Park of Speed. And so, welcome, DJ. Great to have you back in the booth for this brand new season.
Well, Greg, it's great to be back, and I am very, very excited to see what we start off with here tonight with these MX-5s as they take to this Circuit of the Americas track. And not only is it a place that has obviously received many plaudits for Formula One, but so many other forms of racing that come to this track, and it's not altogether surprising, as this track's got a little bit of everything, kind of picking away at the greatest corners in all of the world and putting them into a big amalgamation here to make a truly spectacular track in Austin.
Yeah, indeed. We talk about that huge rise up to turn one, but the decreasing radius S's that follow it to that heavy braking zone down at the end of the run, down to turn 12. So many different challenges to throw at all of these different types of cars, whether they are MX-5s or whether they're Spec Racer Fords. But let's do this, DJ. Why don't we toss things over to Morgan Burkhardt from Delta Sport? He is going to give us tonight's track guide of the Circuit of the Americas.
Hello everyone, my name is Morgan Burkhardt for Delta Sport US, and tonight I'm taking on the Circuit of the Americas in the Spec Racer Ford. It's about 3.4 miles long, 20 corners, very long track, so you can lose a lot of time or gain a lot of time. As we come up the steep turn one, we're going to use the elevation to our advantage, brake late as we dare, and then turn in kind of late apex and getting on the throttle pretty early, and watching for the one wheel peel on the exit, as the open diff likes to spin up the rear and side wheel. And then as we start to set up the S's, we want to come center of track at a turn 2, and then left wheel on the curb, right wheel on the curb, just nipping these orange little apex markers, really is what they are. And then double apex corner here, so we can come track right for the left-hander, and again nipping this little orange apex marker. Kind of 2/3 of the track, so we can get a good setup through this section here. And then early on the throttle, so we can carry as much speed as we can into the, in my opinion, one of the most important corners on the track, because it leads one of the longest straight. So we're gonna look for our brake marker, hit that white line, and then brake as late as we can, get a late apex, early throttle, so that we can carry as much speed as humanly possible onto this very long back straight. It is so long, in fact, that in this car you can draft up to somebody, pass them, and then be passed again in the same straight. So it is, it's an interesting one to race with, especially when it comes down to the closing stages of the race. You really have to plan accordingly and be really deep on the brakes into this corner. We're going to look for the 100 board, use the entry curve to slow us down a little bit. Late apex, kind of track out all the way as much as we can, come back to the left of the track so we can enter the stadium section. And then this is a double apex corner. We're gonna try and just ease into the throttle a little bit to avoid the wheel spin, and then for this one, difficult corner, we're gonna try and brake in a straight line as much as we can, late entry, and then track out all the way so we can just keep up the minimum speed. And then this corner is just really long, ends up being a double, triple apex corner. However many you really want to make it, you kind of hug the exit a little bit and just feather the inputs to keep the car balanced through here. So we come into the end of the lap, we're just going to try and balance the car on the brakes, kind of late apex again, and then track right as much as we can to enter the final corner. Use a lot of the exit curb and the entrance curb so you don't really get a 1X. And that is a lap of Circuit of the Americas.
All right, and thank you so much to Morgan Burkhardt for tonight's track guide of the Circuit of the Americas. And DJ, while we were showing the track guide, I was looking up and down through our timing screens here for Morgan Burkhardt, as we're now just about a little bit over 11 minutes into this 15-minute qualifying session, and he was sitting down around 11th or 12th with 2 flying laps in the books. And just as he was coming out of the final turn on his track guide, he was coming out of the final turn in real life too. There's Morgan in the number 40 machine, and he puts the car on provisional pole by almost 7/10 of a second. Maybe he's taking some hints from the guy.
I think he was indeed. A very impressive run there, and I think what Morgan was able to do just a little bit of is take advantage of the draft down this long back straightaway here. I think he was running there behind Giancarlo Schooler, and certainly was able to make great advantage of that, giving him that 0.6 of a second advantage. Now my question is going to be is what Giancarlo is going to be able to do on this lap now that he's going to be tucked up behind that number 40.
Exactly. And so Schooler, currently your second fastest driver on track here in qualifying. And again, he had the benefit of the tow from Morgan Burkhardt as they made the run out of the hairpin at turn 11 down that very long back straight. And as you were listening to Morgan's track guide, under race conditions, it wouldn't be out of the norm to see a pass and repass. There is so much time and so much distance on that long back straight as they are now making their way through through the Grand Plaza section, turn 17 and 18, and into the final corners. There you go, through turn 18, down in the 19, and one more corner here, or two more corners, going through 19 right now, and the next thing will be onto the front straight, as we see Giancarlo Schooler now on the front straight. Let's see if he can improve upon that 2:29.23 set by Morgan Burkhardt. And he does not. He turns in a 2:29.761, knocking just a couple of thousandths off of his previous best, DJ.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by that, and I would have expected him to have a little bit of a better run. He looked particularly quick through Sector 1. So we've got a new name popping there up on the board. That's going to be Andrew Wozencroft, able to come up into 4th place. Looks like Beans Forrester not going to have an improvement there, but Wozencroft setting a very good time. That'll see him up into 4th.
Indeed, as he turns in now a 2:31.75, and again, that's good enough for 4th. Beans Forrester, our Season 7 champion, in the 2:31 machine, currently sitting 3rd overall. Also good to see Michael Snow this week in the 0:77 machine, new to the Ray Esports Racing League, and I believe he is a B-Spec driver, actually. Just, you know, that week that we don't have those Volkswagen Jettas running, he is here in a Mazda MX-5, and I think we're probably going to see Michael at Circuit of the Americas this weekend coming up for an event that I'm calling. So, you know, we'll see how he does here, using this as definitely as a test session. Also, take a look at the 044 machine. That's Megan Overstreet, is currently running 7th overall in that purple and pink machine. DJ, she had a great first outing in the Ray Esports Racing League, finishing 2nd in Spec Racer Ford, and didn't quite finish, I think, where she wanted to in the GR86 Cup cars. She got caught up in a lap 1 incident, but made her way and passed, I think, 21 cars on the way to finish 18th or 16th overall in that race from a very, very hectic Mid-Ohio sports car course.
Yeah, and that is one of the things of Mid-Ohio. Going to be interested to see here how Megan's going to be able to cope with, though, is Mid-Ohio is a pretty tight and twisting track, but this is a similar track, but altogether different. It's much wider than Mid-Ohio, and it has some of the characteristics of sort of a Tilcadrome that we have come to talk about when you talk about modern Formula One circuits. A lot of off-camber corners, a lot of tricky braking zones to get down into, and so I think it's going to be a real challenge for all drivers, Megan included.
Indeed, as we have the checkered flag out on the session. So this is going to be Megan's last flying lap, and looks like she is likely going to get a 1X there. That is one of the big challenges here also, DJ. I mean, there's a lot of painted areas, and you know, if you wanted to open up your corners as much as possible, you could do that here at Circuit of the Americas, but you always run the risk of getting a 1X and having a lap time invalidated here at the track. It's very, very easy to do in very many places on the track.
Yeah, and certainly one of the difficulties here. There are some gravel runoffs there that you see on the exit of the corner there as Justin Huffman works his way down through the last couple of corners here. You can find that gravel runoff around here, but for the most part, it's going to be a lot of that painted asphalt that does have grip on it, actually. Yeah. And so you're able to carry some good speed around there. Think back to the days when IndyCar ran here, and they ran very wide coming out of turn 19. But obviously here on the iRacing system, you will get a 1X for those kind of incidents, and that's especially crucial in qualifying, because even just a 1X will mean your lap is completely discounted.
Exactly, and of course, it's something a lot of our drivers ran into at Mid-Ohio last week, is, well, those incident points count during the races as well, and there is, I believe, a 12 incident limit before a driver will get a drive-through penalty here tonight at Circuit of the Americas. And if they accumulate 20 of them over the course of that 20-minute race, they'll be disqualified. As we're watching now, Lewis Lockshine on his last flying lap there, and in the orange and white number 124 machine. And on his very last lap, he leapfrogs Brad Gould and will move up to 12th fastest overall, 12th on the grid.
Yeah, that'll be a good run for him. Good mid-pack here, and as we've seen multiple times, not exactly out of the realm of possibility that we could see a little bit of a coming together here into turn one. That is a big flashpoint, so I think here Lewis may be trying to move his way forward, maybe get a couple of positions if anything were to happen here coming up the hill into this iconic first corner.
And there you go, watching Murphy Nichols, our last driver to complete qualifying. And it does not look as though Murphy was able to set a time. He and a number of other drivers, and a little surprised here, Deegan Greenfield not setting a time, Andrew Benna, Felix Borodati, and a pretty good number of them having some issues with those off tracks, with those incident limits. Here as we're getting ready to have our drivers go and grid up for tonight's first race of the evening, a 20-minute sprint race here at the Circuit of the Americas. And of course, right after that, we'll have our second race of the evening, and it will be Spec Race Ford. So as we're waiting, and our drivers will be gridding up here in just a moment, DJ, I think we've said it already many times that this track presents a lot of challenges. And, I'm looking at some of those drivers that did not set qualifying times, like a Murphy Nichols, who I think is going to start 18th tonight. He had 9 incident points over the course of 3 laps in qualifying. So, again, these drivers definitely going to have to be very, very careful. Let's run down the starting order. And on pole tonight with a qualifying time of 2:29.229 is Morgan Burkhardt, with Giancarlo Schooler, his Delta Sport teammate, starting on the outside of row number 1. Then we've got Beans Forster, last season's champion, starting in 3rd, with Andrew Wozencroft starting in 4th. Michael Snow will start in 5th tonight, with Tom Pendergrass starting in 6th. Megan Overstreet starts 7th, with Trenton Kramer starting on the outside of row number 4. And then we've got Jim Brewster starts in 9th tonight, with Charles Bailey starting in 10th. Justin Huffman will start 11th tonight, with Lewis Lockshine starting in 12th.
In 13th position, it's going to be Bradford Gould, followed by Joaquin Effinger. Then it's Rich Green and Wayne Buttermore. Vinny Barada will line up 17th, followed by Murphy Nichols, as now we get into the drivers that did not set a time down on the board. Charlie Vaccaro lining up in 19th, followed by Deacon Greenfield. Andrew Benna in 21st, followed by Mark Sherman. And then Felix Borodati will round out your 23-car grid.
All right, and so as our drivers are going to start their very short pace lap here at Circuit of the Americas, let's quickly talk about our sponsor for tonight's first race of the evening, and that's Grassroots Motorsports Magazine. Built for the true sports car enthusiast, Grassroots Motorsports has one mission: to be your personal guide to the sports car world. Whether it's online at grassrootsmotorsports.com, in print or in person, the racers and builders, the car nerds at Grassroots Motorsports will take you behind the scenes and show you how to make your car better. Along the way, they'll give you a taste of everything else this hobby has to offer, from 1,000 horsepower track monsters to cool street cars built in driveways. They also maintain a collection of staff-built project cars, because hands-on technical articles, they're not typed behind the desk, they're scribbled down in the garage. To not only read, but become part of the story, head on over to grassrootsmotorsports.com. All right, so we've got the pace car. Actually, not such a short pace lap here, DJ, is the pace car now bringing the field into turn 17, into that Grand Plaza area where they've got the amphitheater just off to the drivers right there. That big sweeping, I guess, quadruple apex section there. I guess very much like Parabolica, as you mentioned. A lot of corners here. Very similar to other tracks. This track designed by Tilka in around starting in 2010, and of course, I think the story of how Circuit of the Americas came to be almost as interesting racing itself, as the pace car has taken to the pit lane. Morgan Burkhardt has the field. His teammate Giancarlo Schooler just off to his right. Then Beans Foster, Andrew Wozencroft, and a little strung out at the back of the pack. Looks like we've got some drivers trying to shade over a little bit and take a look. A late green flag here, and there we go. We are underway here at Circuit of the Americas. We've actually got 2 different start lines here, and the later start line is what they use. The finish line will be just out of turn 20, as Morgan Burkhardt takes the point heading through turn 1 as Giancarlo Schooler takes a very wide run through the corner, and we have cars now already off. Looks like Charles Vaccaro there in the grass to off on driver's left, him, and then Michael Snow in the 077 car, and it looks like going around that was I think that was Joaquin Effinger in the 700 machine, not making his Texas fans proud there. You can see the big map of Texas on the doors, and unfortunately for Joaquin, he's going to be making a run from the back of the field.
Yeah, he's going to have to try to work his way forward. I like seeing what we saw, though, out of Beans Forster and Thomas Pendergrass there, as Pendergrass runs a little bit wide coming out of turn 18. Beans tries to be able to take a little bit of a move, but the bump draft coming into play down the back straightaway there from Beans, that's a heads-up play. I think he recognized some pressure coming from behind in the form of Michael Snow and Trenton Kramer and tried to get it. Now he's going to try to make the move down to the inside off of turn 20.
Yeah, look at that, and he didn't turn in late. He just cranked the wheel all the way over. You thought he would have lost some momentum on exit, but he manages to carry speed around Tom Pendergrass and move Beans Forster now, our last season champion, up into third position. But just that little bit of battling, that whole group there, Forster, Pendergrass, Snow, Kramer, Megan Overstreet in the purple and pink car. We've got Charles Bailey and Andrew Wozencroft as well. Now almost 4 full seconds back from our lead duo as they have started to fight and fight early. And looking at a great battle. These are the drivers that did not set times in qualifying. We've got Andrew Benna in the orange number 71 machine, Brad Gould, who had that early lap 1 off. And then we've got Murphy Nichols. This right now is the battle for 14th position.
Yeah, and Murphy was looking very, very aggressive at the start of the S's there down into turn 3, 4, and 5. Now he's going to try to make a little bit of a move here on Gould as Gould ran wide coming through turn 9, and that is a position gain for Murphy. Good persistence, good aggression from behind for Murphy Nichols there to just keep everything up, and now he's able to gain that position. He's now going to set his sights on Andrew Benna.
All right, let's jump back or jump up now. We're taking a look. This is Trenton Kramer in the 444 machine. Actually, we're going to jump over. There we go. There's Trenton. He's got Michael Snow and Pendergrass just ahead. And look at this. This is Trenton. He really goes to open up the entry into turn number 12 and see if he can sneak by. This is a move that sometimes will work. Here, of course, you got the long way around as you come into the stadium section into turns 13 and 14 here at DJ, and at least for the moment, looks like Michael Snow has managed to hold off the 444 machine. But look how tight this is as they come out of 16 and start to go into that plaza section.
A little bit of oversteer there that Trenton Kramer had to be able to hold up underneath him. You saw him switch that wheel to the outside to try to catch it. Now coming down into turn 19, he's able to keep everything underneath him, but they've got to be very careful because we've got a very fast driver in the form of Megan Overstreet right behind them, and I've got to think that 044 is going to be trying to make a move if these two start scrapping up in front.
Yeah, indeed. And so Overstreet's made a name for herself recently in Spec Racer Fords, as she did last week in the Ray Esports Racing League and some other open wheel cars, but showing that she can get herself acclimated to the tin tops here pretty quickly. Making a run up the hill. There's the 444 machine of Kramer getting past Snow, and you can see Overstreet trying to take advantage of it as Michael Snow had made that very quick run to the inside in that 077 car running up the hill, and he now gets that move done. He is back into 5th place where he started this race just about 5.5 minutes ago.
Yeah, and now you see these drivers starting to fan out a little bit through the S's. I've got to say, I don't love that strategy there from them. Yes, you're not going to have a lot of aero wash that you have to deal with coming through these fast sweepers, but even in these MX-5s, this is pretty much a one-lane highway coming down through the S's. You have got to keep the car exactly right or you're going to compromise your line into the next corner. So I think a little bit more patience here out of some of these drivers. Maybe try to set up the move going down into turn 12. That may be the better way forward.
Yeah, indeed, DJ. I mean, as soon as you get out of turn 2 and you start to get into the S's in the 3, 4, 5, and 6 complex before you start to run up the hill towards turn number 7, they are decreasing radius, especially if you go in there side by side. or if you get thrown offline early on, it gets harder and harder to recover, and it is going to affect your speed all the way down into the braking of the hairpin, as some of these drivers have already found, as we're now watching Deacon Greenfield in the green and blue number 36 machine, and he's right behind the yellow and orange machine of Andrew Wozencroft. Greenfield having made up 10 positions. He started 20th tonight, of course, did not put in a time in qualifying. And Wozencroft, so we've got a driver off, and that is, I believe, Tom Pendergrass.
Yeah, I believe it was Pendergrass and Kramer there getting into each other, coming down into the corner. It looks like they just made a little bit of side-by-side contact, and that was going to be enough to spin the both of them around. Good heads up from the rest of the field, though, for avoiding that action.
Yeah, indeed, when you have all those drivers, in a line, hard under braking, under threshold braking, they don't have many options to try and avoid, but it looks like they got through. Let's take a look and see, and if we could track down what happened going into turn 12, into that very tight corner there. We caught I think we just caught the tail end of it. We'll see if we can get something a little bit closer as we go on here. As we go back, and here we go. As they're coming in, and this wasn't in the 12. I guess this was down into a 16, and yeah, you can see just maybe a little bit optimistic under braking there, DJ.
Yeah, and I think the 444 there, if you watch it, started to lose the rear end of the car. Maybe just had that rear end snap out a little bit. Could have been a little bit of rear brake lockup there for Kramer, and that was enough to be able to send him around. He looked like he was already starting to spin before he actually made contact with Pendergrass. So a very unfortunate situation there for both drivers.
Wow, and there you saw what some of these apex curbs will do. The sausage curves at the apex, as Andrew Benna was almost faster on 2 wheels than he was on 4 wheels. I guess there's less friction there as he was coming through that 3, 4, 5 complex. And Murphy Nichols is locked in with the number 71 machine. They are currently running 11th and 12th, and as they now come down into the hairpin. And it looks like we had another driver that may have had an issue there, and I think that was the 63 of Bailey, the black with the red striped car. Was a little bit offline coming out of the hairpin. He's managed to recover. Doesn't quite have the ultimate pace down the straight, but here under braking, Michael Snow, and it is, well, let's see, it's Snow and Greenfield, who's all the way up to 3rd, TJ.
Yeah, that is a gain of 17 positions. By far your biggest mover in the race here at this point. The closest one to him is Andrew Benna, who's up 10. But Deacon putting on a clinic here, although it doesn't look like at the moment Michael Snow's willing to let that position go here. At the moment, you saw that little bit of a peak coming down into turn 15 as he now tries to be able to put as much pressure as he can onto the back. But I got to say, I think if that's the pace Deacon is running, he's going to scamper off into the distance.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I had to do a double take there just to make sure that it was actually the 36 machine that we saw Snow trying to make a move on, as Megan Overstreet was kind of stalking there as well. But yeah, we'll have to see now that last time by, as Greenfield ran a 2:31 and change, almost 2.3 seconds faster than Michael Snow on the previous lap. Should mention that they are, all 3 of those drivers, Greenfield, Snow, and also Overstreet, about 2 seconds or more off of our 2 leaders, Morgan Burkhardt and Giancarlo Schooler, who are running very similar lap times, and now almost 15, about 15, 16 seconds up on the rest of the field.
Well, you know, it's not entirely surprising here, Greg. This is really a love it or hate it kind of circuit when it comes to driving it. Either you feel the rhythm of this track, you know exactly how it's going to flow, and you are able to extract the maximum lap time around here, or you really, really struggle because so many of these corners just lead into one another that you really can't have an off moment like we talked about before. And so it clearly looks like Burkhardt and Schooler here are just locked in, and they're pulling away.
All right, let's take a look at Beans Forster. Never fully recovered from that start, as he is now in the battle with Jim Brewster in the orange 933 machine, and Andrew Wozencroft, who started off 4th. here this evening. Of course, Forster starting third this evening. Currently the battle for 6th position, but you can see here still, somewhat tight here. DJ, is that that battle between Greenfield, Snow, Overstreet. It includes Forster, Brewster, and Wozencroft, and I think the great ability over some of these longer straightaways to lock into the draft, whether it be coming out of the hairpin at 11 and going down that long back straight to 12, whether it be on the front straight as well. And I think also, as we're seeing here, some of the battling that is taking place in some very wide sections of track is so all playing to compress this field down.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, if you look at the gaps here, Deacon Greenfield all the way back, there's a little bit of a gap between Jim Brewster and Andrew Rosencroft for 7th and 8th place. But for the majority of this is a really compact field, with the exception of the two up at the front. There you can see it on your ticker. It's very, very close, and I agree with you, Greg. The draft is a huge, huge part of that. As here comes Beans Forrester sending a couple of moves down to the inside.
Yeah, and here they come back out onto the front straight, and you saw Overstreet take a little peek underneath Beans Forster there, coming out of turn 20. I think very quickly thought better of it and better just to follow up the hill. Now let's see if any of these drivers decide to peek to the inside, going down into turn number 1. Yeah, and a little bit of a tap there on Michael Snow goes Beans Forster, but just the slightest little brush there is, I think, perhaps Snow maybe overslowed a little bit for Forster there up at the crest of the hill. But so many different ways to get through that corner.
Oh, so very many different ways to get through the corner, and I agree with you there with a little bit of overslowing out of Michael Snow. I think he checked himself up, not wanting to get into the back of Deacon Greenfield, and that has allowed for Beans Forrester to really, really start to push here at this point in that 231. He smells some blood in the water, and he wants to get this move done on Snow.
Yeah, and you can see there, right in the middle of the S's there, as Snow was really thrown off his game and thrown off his line. Lost a lot of momentum as it allows Forster to come up alongside and outbreak the 077 going into the hairpin. That's also brought Overstreet and now Jim Brewster into the game as well. And in just the last lap, DJ, we've seen Brewster and Wozencroft make up almost 8 car lengths, maybe even 10 car lengths, and I think it was all owed to that little battle in the S's between Snow and Forster.
You read my mind. That's exactly what I was going to say it was, is now we're fanning out 2, almost 3 wide coming down into turn number 12. Hopefully Wozencroft's going to be able to get that through. Looks like Overstreet not able to get the move done on Snow. Forster continues to hold in behind Deacon Greenfield right now. We've got a bunch of couplets here really that are starting to form, but it's all part of this longer train.
Yeah, indeed, and we can see there as they came through the stadium and Ground Plaza sections that Wozencroft got around Brewster, but both of those drivers maybe fell off the pace of the 3 cars up ahead of them. You can see that gap now between the purple and pink car of Overstreet back to Wozencroft and Brewster, but it's starting to look like Charles Bailey and Lewis Lockshine starting to get into that fight as well. I want to welcome back Lewis. Haven't seen him since about the middle of last season, and the 124 machine currently running in 10th overall, starting 12th tonight. A little bit of a wiggle coming out of the final corner from Charles Bailey.
Yeah, a little bit of a wiggle, and that's going to be a recognition here from Lewis, and I think he's going to try to maybe make a little bit of a play here into turn 1. Certainly it had to be a little bit earlier on the binders, though, to make sure he didn't run into the back of that number 63 machine. They're going to fan out in single file order here at this point, but we've got to check back in on the front of this battle because it's looking a little spicy.
Indeed we do, as I believe we are on the very last lap here. Or probably no, we're only 15 minutes into a 20-minute race. Who am I to short these guys 5 minutes? But yeah, indeed, as Beans Forster made a move on Deacon Greenfield, going up into turn 1 was side by side as they started to roll down the hill into turn 2. Forster not able to get around the number 36 machine, however, and you can see that 231 machine though locked in on the 36. Whereas Greenfield had that great pace early on, might have run the tires off a little bit in trying to work his way up towards the front of the field, and getting a little defensive now on the 231.
Yeah, getting a little defensive here because he knows the speed that Beans is going to have, and especially here coming down the back straightaway, it's going to be interesting to see what Beans decides to do. And I'll tell you right now, it looks like he's going to try to give the bump draft here to Deacon Greenfield. I think that's a smart play here, Greg. Try to extend the gap a little bit over Snow and see if that buys you a little bit of breathing room to then be able to battle it out a little bit later on in the race.
Well, Snow peeks to the inside just a little bit, Forster had to dip to the inside just a little bit to defend. Greenfield kept his line up there, but I think that was more a defensive maneuver from Forster than it was an attack on Greenfield. You know, and even as they tried to break free of Snow and Overstreet and Wozencroft with that bump draft, that back straight is just so long, DJ, that I don't think you can punch a big enough hole in the air unless you've got maybe 4 or 5 car lengths coming out of the hairpin.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly what it's looking like it's shaking out to be here at this point, that you've got to have that big train to really get enough of a draft here. I mean, indeed, we haven't really seen all that many moves going down into turn 12. The majority of them have been because of little blips and bobbles from other drivers, either through the S's or through that stadium section.
All right, as they work their way onto the front straight, and we have just 2 minutes remaining here, and we'll see, check to see if our leaders have taken the white flag. I believe we're going to have one more lap for Morgan Burkhardt based on where they are on the track here, DJ.
Yeah, I think they are, but I got to tell you something, as it was just provided here by our director, Jonathan Grabowski. Ridiculous lap times being set down.
Yeah.
They are almost 2 seconds faster than anybody else out on track.
Yeah, they've been putting down laps consistently in the mid to high 229s. And there you go, as Jonathan has thrown it up on the ticker there. And you can see next fastest drivers on track are going to be Greenfield and Forster. And they are running almost exactly 2 seconds off the pace of our leaders. And Burkhardt and Schooler just have not let off the throttle since the start of this race. As we jump now back over to this battle for the last step on the podium, as Beans Forster takes a look to the inside and at the hairpin, and not quite close enough, and going around coming out of the hairpin is Megan Overstreet, so she is going to drop back now. She had been running in 6th position. She's going to fall all the way back into 10th, and that has also opened up a little bit of ground now for Forster and Greenfield, as we've got Michael Snow now fanning to the inside. I think he realizes time might be running out if he's going to get out of 5th position and battle for that last podium position, as the stadium section, now called the stadium section, is actually a soccer or football stadium, sitting in that center area now, built up back in 2018. As we jump back now over to our leaders, Morgan Burkhardt and Giancarlo Schooler, and the white flag is in the air as they cross the stripe, the finish line, with only 2 seconds to spare. Again, the finish line here at Circuit of the Americas almost immediately after you come out of turn 20. So last lap now for our racers, as we take a look now at the battle for 7th position. We've got Charles Bailey in that black and red number 63, Jim Brewster in the 933 machine, and Lewis Lockshine, and they have now dropped it back about DJ, about 10 car lengths off of the battle for 3rd.
Yeah, we've got 2 trios now, and really and truly, that is all a result, as you said before, of Overstreet looping it coming through turn 11. That caused Wozencroft to have to check up a little bit, and then that just kind of dominoed down through the rest of the field. But as we watch Deacon Greenfield here, what he has got to do, Greg, is he has got to focus on the road ahead of him. He has got to ignore what Beans Forster does behind him. He has just got to run his lines coming through these S's.
Yeah, indeed, and Forster has to do the exact same thing, obviously, now, is Michael Snow trying to take a page out of Forster's book. Ran very wide coming down out of turn 1, tried to carry speed through turn 2 and into the S's to try and throw Forster off of his game, off of his line, but you'll see here has fallen about a car length back as they come out of turn 10, make the run under braking into the hairpin. Forster once again not quite close enough under braking, as we've got Snow running wide coming out of 11, gets back in line. That will bring Wozencroft maybe just a little bit closer, as Wozencroft sits in 6th position. And now 3 wide, DJ going down to 12.
Oh, this has got disaster written all over it in 3 different languages, but let's see who can do it. It looks like it's going to be Snow and Forster, but the battle of the late breakers. Greenfield super late diving it in. He's going to be able to sweep around the outside and hold on to the advantage, and here comes Wozencroft.
Wow, and Wozencroft now pulling up right alongside Michael Snow as they go through turns 13 and 14. And wow, talk about the late braking as we've got Morgan Burkhardt and Giancarlo Schooler coming out of turn 19 through turn 20 for the very last time and crossing the finish line. It is going to be Morgan Burkhardt with Schooler finishing in 2nd. Let's jump back to that battle for 3rd, where it's Deacon Greenfield, Beans Forster, Michael Snow, Andrew Wozencroft, about a car length and a half separating all of them with only 2 corners remaining.
Let's see here. Deacon's just got 1 corner to get through. It looks like he's nailed that apex. He's going to come out of the final corner and cross over the stripe. An amazing defense there by Deacon Greenfield. Beans Forster, Snow, and Wozencroft going to round out your top 6.
There you go. And then crossing the line, it's going to be Charles Bailey coming home in 7th. Jim Brewster finishing in 8th. Lockshine will finish in 9th, and look at that, finishing in 10th position, making up 11 spots in tonight's race. Andrew Benna brings the number 71 home in 10th. And DJ, we talked about it. It was who was going to break the latest going into turn 12 between Snow, Forster, and Greenfield. Snow all the way to the inside, got on the binders. Then Forster maybe 50 feet later, but Deacon Greenfield from the outside was so late on the brakes going in there and managed to keep the car under control and was just able to go right around the outside of both Snow and Forster. It was a great defense from Deacon Greenfield.
An absolutely stellar defense. Really, really impressive there from him. I thought for sure Deacon was going to get left out in the cold, but he put on one heck of a display in a well-earned 3rd place.
All right, let's do this. We've got our top 2 finishers sitting in the green room right now. Let's first bring in Giancarlo Schooler, driver of the number 111 Mazda MX-5, finishing 2nd tonight here at COTA.
Well, Giancarlo, I'd say a pretty quiet run for you out at the front of the field. It looks like you and Morgan had the race all to yourself.
Yeah, we did. We put some good amount of practice in tonight, so we were well prepared. Not my favorite track by any means, not the best here, but ended up doing a good job nonetheless.
Well, what is it about this circuit? Because we were kind of talking about how this is a sort of love it or hate it kind of track. What is it about here that you don't necessarily love?
The track limits, man, they're so strict here, and it's really hard in this car. You want to get every inch as possible. So when it comes to these strict track limits, it's really hard to keep the incidents down here.
Well, you were able to keep it down, and is this a little bit of a gauntlet thrown for the rest of the season between you and Morgan?
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to duke it out in the future. I'm looking forward to the races ahead. He gets the pace here tonight for sure. But hopefully I can, catch up to him and battle him in the races going forward.
Well, we certainly hope as well. Giancarlo, congratulations here on a well-earned 2nd place, and we'll see you out on the track here in just a little bit.
Okay, guys, thanks.
All right, there you go. Giancarlo Schooler finishing 2nd tonight at Circuit of the Americas in the MX-5s. Let's bring in our winner, Morgan Burkhardt in the number 40 Delta Sport Mazda MX-5.
Morgan, I just talked to Giancarlo. An absolutely dominant performance up by the both of you at the top of the field. This victory has got to feel pretty darn good.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to get away from JC at the beginning part of the first lap and kind of keep about a second buffer. I never really came down under 0.8 of a second and just drove really consistent laps, kind of just put my head down and kept going for lap after lap. And yeah, it was kind of a race on my own, but I'm not going to complain about that.
Well, talk to me about the absolute pace advantage that you two had over the rest of the field. I think by the time the checkered flag fell, we were looking at 23, 24 seconds. I mean, is that all just practice time, or is there something about this track that just suits the pair of you?
Well, I didn't do a whole lot of practice before the event. I'm not gonna lie, but basically just hopped in for the official practice when the session went up. But I really like this car, and I like the track a lot. It's been growing on me. About a couple days ago when I was doing the laps for the Spec Racer Ford, I was just like beating my head against the wall. Hated the track, hated just the dynamic of the whole thing. But I'm getting a lot comfortable. I'm more comfortable with it, and it's growing on me. So it's that, and we've gotten the setup pretty dialed in for this car, running a bunch of other leagues with the MX5 World Sim Series with it. So it's a pretty dialed in car.
Well, it certainly looked dialed in. I won't keep you too long because, well, it's time for you to jump into the Spec Racer Fords, and wish you the best of luck when you get out there.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Morgan Burkhardt, our winner tonight in our first race in the Mazda MX-5s. All right, so DJ, real quick, I know he's going to want to jump into the Spec Racer Ford and get some qualifying time in, but let's bring in Deacon Greenfield. He finished third tonight, but I think most importantly, the man made up 17 positions, and probably with the defensive move of the night on that last lap.
Yeah, Deacon, let's start at the end. Talk me through that run going into turn 12. Incredible late braking. What was going through your mind?
Yeah, I saw in practice that I could brake later than Michael, so I took that into account, and I couldn't have done it without Bean, so it's really great teamwork.
Well, and then when it came to moving up 17 positions, what was your secret? I mean, you just looked like you were on fire there tonight.
Yeah, I got a bad quali, which was definitely on me, but I chose to go really wide on the start and play it safe, and it paid off.
Certainly did pay off. Deacon, we wish you the best of luck in the world. We'll let you hop in the Spec Racers, and we'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Deacon Greenfield, driver the number 36, Mazda MX-5, coming home second tonight in this race. And so we've got one more race on tap for you tonight, and it's going to be the Spec Racer Fords. But first, we're going to take a quick break, thanks to some of our partners, and we'll be back with you here in just a few moments, where you are watching the Ray Esports Racing Winter Tour here on Apex Racing TV, and we'll be right back. right, and welcome back to the Circuit of the Americas for week number 2 of this very young winter season of the Ray Esports Racing League. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with DJ Clark. And DJ, you know, great race in Spec Miata and the MX-5 Cup cars, and I'm sure we're going to see more of the same here in Spec Racer Ford, and maybe some of the same players, but we'll see if maybe at the front of the field, maybe a little bit closer, as we're about 10 minutes into a 15-minute qualifying session here. Morgan Burkhardt, hey, what a story. Morgan Burkhardt currently your provisional pole sitter, Paul Slavonic and Chris Montgomery rounding out the top 3. And then a great little story here, Josh Justice, driver of the number 99 Spec Racer Ford. He hails from Texas. He is a Spec Racer Ford racer in real life, and he is registered to race at the Hoosier Racing. I hope we're not pissing anybody off here, but the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. Schooler, who we just talked to a few moments ago, finishing 2nd, and Will Robbins coming home in 3rd. Skip Brock Jr. finishing 4th, and Bob Kucera 5th. And interestingly enough, Will Robbins actually picked up a bonus point, and so he and Schooler are currently tied for 2nd in that class currently, again with just 1 lap in the books. And there you go, they're the championship standings, and very close as you run down through the order there. If we take a look at the Volkswagen Jettas, or what we're calling Touring 4, Morgan Burkhardt took the win, with Beans Forster coming home in 2nd. Andrew Pilata and Paul Slavonic, a couple longtime SCCA autocrossers, coming in 3rd and 4th, with Trenton Kramer coming in 5th. And that is exactly how the points are laid out right now in what we're calling Touring 4. Those are the Volkswagen Jettas. And so let's quickly then take a look at Spec Racer Ford, DJ, because they had their very first race of the season last week at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Sounds like a broken record right now, but your provisional pole sitter, Morgan Burkhardt, took the win. Margin of victory, almost 4.7 seconds over Megan Overstreet. And this is a race where Burkhardt early on had it kind of rough. It was Burkhardt, it was Antonio Rice, and also our season 7 champion Beans Forster in a 4-car breakaway to start the race. Overstreet was just kind of sitting back and watching the top 3 cars battle it out. She was just I think waiting for something to happen, and it did for both Rice, who spun the car over by turn 4, and it happened for Beans Forster, who spun the car, went deep down into the carousel, and lost the car there. That moved Overstreet up into 2nd. Rice was able to recover. He brought that 914 car home 3rd, took the last step on the podium. Justin Huffman finished 4th, and Wozencroft finished 5th. And so if we take a look at the point standings right now, it is Burkhardt, then Overstreet, then Rice, then a tie for 4th place right now with Justin Huffman and Andrew Wozencroft, because I think Wozencroft did not have any incidents at all, picked up a bonus point there. So you can see those 2 drivers actually tied, and then very close behind is Beans Forster. I'm sure, even though just only 1 weekend in the books, I'm sure our last season's champion not relishing sitting 7th in the championship currently coming into tonight's race.
No, I'm sure he's not, but if there's anything we know about Beans Forster, it is that he is able to make up ground on track, and so we'll probably see him doing it hopefully a little bit better here tonight. But right now, only qualified 7th. He'll have a little bit of room to try to get to improve his way up through the field if he can.
Yeah, indeed. And so big swing here for Murphy Nichols, who did not put in a time in qualifying in the Mazda MX-5s, had incident points on each of his flying laps. He's currently qualified 3rd fastest here tonight in the Spec Racer Fords with a time of a 227.15, just a touch under 2/10 off of, or actually a touch over 2/10 off of Paul Slavonic's time of a 226.81. And of course, Burkhardt currently 2 seconds up on the rest of the field. Fastest time for him, provisional pole time at 224.70. So believe me, there is a big margin for some of our remaining drivers to place their cars into, as the checkered flag is now out on the session. And I believe most of our drivers have actually already completed their final flying laps.
Yeah, it looks like the last couple are coming across right now. You just saw Jochen Effinger there having a little bit of a problem, having a spin coming down into the corner, so that's going to throw him off and around and discount that lap. We watch John Vogel here. Looks like that is going to get him up into 5th place, so a good time for the number 4, and that's going to find him perilously close there to Murphy Nichols up in front of him. They're only separated by about 0.08 of a second.
Indeed, and so Beans Forster, who just a few moments ago found himself sitting 7th fastest overall, he moves himself now up to 3rd fastest, provisionally starting on the inside of row number 2, a much better starting position for him. But probably the most worrying thing is he is all of 2.1 seconds off of Morgan Burkhardt's qualifying time. But Forster and Slavonic very, very close, only about 0.09 of a second separating those two drivers here after 15 minutes of qualifying, as our last drivers making their final flying laps. We'll see if John Vogel can improve upon the 227.23 that he put in. The driver right up ahead of him is, I believe, is that Vaccaro, I think, directly ahead of him. Well, just ahead of John Vogel. I'm trying to. Oh yeah, that is the number 5 of Murphy Nichols. Is John Vogel getting a little bit of a draft off the number 5 machine. I was so used to seeing that all-white Mazda MX-5 from the last race. I didn't recognize Murphy's Spec Racer Ford.
Yeah, certainly there with that livery on it, but that's going to be helpful here as well. Remember, we talked about how helpful the draft was in the MX-5s. It's going to be equally helpful here in the Spec Racer Fords, as now we watch Joshua Justice bringing the car down through the last couple of corners right now, down through turn 20 indeed. I'm not sure if this is a flying lap for Josh. He's going to come across the line there. Looks like that either wasn't a flyer or it's going to be no improvement. He'll stay in 9th.
Exactly, and so we'll see if the last two drivers, Nichols and Vogel, who should be coming through the final corners right now. We'll see if those times count for them, as looks as though at a 227.23 and a 227.15, looks like those last times did indeed count. Both drivers improved, but they're not going to swap positions here, as Murphy Nichols manages to hold off John Vogel. Murphy's going to start on the outside of row number 2, and Vogel on the inside of row number 3.
And so that'll be interesting. I think we're going to see a big fan out like we saw in the MX-5 race coming down into turn 1, as well as a little bit of problems there potentially coming through the S's. Those can both be big flashpoints. A lot of the same talking points that we talked about in that last race going to be still relevant here for the Spec Racer Fords.
Indeed, as we saw Josh Justice doing his pre-race donuts here, as we've got the grid. Drivers now heading onto the track, lining up behind the pace car. Your pole sitter tonight, Morgan Burkhardt, in that Delta Sport number 40 machine. A 224.701 is your pole time. Paul Slavonic in the 558 machine. He's going to start just to the right of Burkhardt, 2.1 seconds off of that pole time. Is Paul Slavonic. Beans Forster, he's going to start 3rd tonight, with Murphy Nichols starting in 4th. John Vogel will start in 5th, with Trenton Kramer starting the outside of row number 3. Chris Montgomery will start in 7th tonight in the 313 machine, with Andrew Wozencroft starting in 8th. And then row number 5, Josh Justice in the number 99 machine, with Jim Brewster starting right beside him in 10th.
In 11th, it's going to be Deacon Greenfield with the 88 of Caleb Pocock to his outside in P12. P13 will be Bradford Gould, followed by Megan Overstreet, looking to have to get a good position here to be able to move her way up through the field and repeat what we saw last time out in Mid-Ohio. Then it's Andrew Bennett and Charlie Vaccaro in the row behind them, Justin Huffman and Mark Sherman, with Jochen Effinger and Wayne Buttermore rounding out your 20-car grid.
All right, and so as we get ready for the pace car to roll off and make their way towards the front straight for tonight's second race, let's talk about our sponsor here. It's Spec Racer Sports, and Spec Racer Sports' mission is to help fuel and support your addiction your addiction to road racing, and Spec Racer Sports delivers that by providing the parts and services you need when you need them at a fair, competitive price, all with exceptional customer support. Located trackside at Motorsports Ranch, Houston, Spec Racer Sports offers exceptionally prepared Spec Racer Fords for rental as well as for sale, and in addition, they offer storage and support technical services such as chassis dyno work, driver coaching, and fabrication. Find out more about Spec Racer Sports and their services by visiting www.specracersports.com. I would suspect that I will probably be meeting up with some of the Spec Racer Sports folks this weekend as well. We'll see. We'll see how much I can wander out of the announce booth. I don't know if I'm going to want to, DJ. I think I was looking at the weather down there after that big freeze that they had last weekend. It's supposed to be up around 80 degrees on Thursday, and then as if they knew I was coming into town, it's supposed to drop into the 50s on Friday when I land. So
I feel I was just in DC this weekend, and it feels like we touched the ground right as it got as cold as humanly possible. So
yes, exactly. Oh my, back in my old stomping grounds. All right, so pace car now bringing the field up towards turn 19, or turn 20, pardon me. You can see that dip out of turn 19 as it rises back up. Morgan Burkhardt, your pole sitter, now has the field. Paul Slavonic in the red 558 machine to his right. Nichols and Forster making up row number 2. And we'll see if the start is as late as it was for the Spec Miatas. And indeed, they're holding pace. Slavonic's dropping back just a little bit, but green flag is now in the air. And it looked like Murphy Nichols was trying to push Slavonic back up in line with Morgan Burkhardt as Burkhardt stays center of track coming up towards turn number 1. We'll see if Beans Forrester tries to sneak down to the inside there in that rainbow-colored car. He holds off, and he's going to slide in right back behind Slavonic, who at one point had fallen back behind Forster, moves back up into second place. It's Burkhardt, Slavonic, Forster, Murphy, Nichols, and now side by side and getting together in the S's, it's John Vogel and Trenton Kramer, and they now are going to have to try and recover. And you can see they're sitting off in the runoff area there. John Vogel, he's going to find himself all the way in the back of the pack, and that's also going to be opening up a gap about 6 cars deep into this field here, DJ.
Yes, it certainly is, and Vogel picked up a lot of damage there on the front of it. Let's go ahead and check out the replay of that incident. I think this was just 2 cars trying to fight for the same bit of real estate. There you can see Kramer in the 444 and Vogel in the number 4 machine coming down into the corner right under the bridge. Yeah, they both wanted to go for that same little bit of ground, and it didn't work out well.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, there was almost 2 car widths separating them as they came out of turn number 3, and as they came down to the apex at turn 5. There was Vogel sitting right on the curbing, and two black cars becoming one there as they both go off. As we now jump back to live action, and this is the battle for second as Morgan Burkhardt, for the second race in a row, has started to separate himself out from the rest of the field. But Beans Forster, Paul Slavonic, and Murphy Nichols jockeying for second position here. And Forster coming right down the inside of Paul Slavonic as they come through turn 15 and 16 and start to make their way up towards the plaza. But Slavonic, as the track switches back from left to right, Slavonic had position on Forster, and Murphy Nichols is now able to slide right underneath the 231 machine to move Nichols up into third place.
Yeah, great move there from Murphy. Some real stick-to-itiveness there from him. I think we've also had an off in the back. I think Effinger and Buttermore may have been involved in it potentially. I saw cars spinning off in the background, but they're going to run 1, 2, 3. And look at this. Josh Justice now starting to enter into this picture as well. So we've got a 4-car battle starting to shape up for P2.
Yeah, and now we see now moving to the inside Murphy Nichols on Paul Slavonic as they come up the hill towards turn number 1. And so move Nichols now, if he can hold on and keep that car on track, to say move him up to second, but don't let me speak too soon as Slavonic slow into turn 1, fast out of turn 1. comes down the hill and gets right back around the number 5. Hey, let's go back and take a look at that incident back towards the back of the field again. I think it was Buttermore and Effinger. Let's see exactly what happens here, as looks like that was possibly the number 4 machine trying to get back up into the field there. And a little bit of argy-bargy there is Effinger and Buttermore. Actually, I guess Buttermore was I think the trailing car there, but Effinger goes around. He's now going to drop all the way to the back of the field.
Yeah, but as we come back to live pictures here, it looks like Murphy Nichols' attack on Paul Slavonic not going anywhere. We've got to take a look here a little bit farther back in the field. This is Vaccaro and Gould right now going side by side on the run down into turn 11. That's going to be the 221 of Vaccaro, able to outbrake the 97. Now the draft comes back into play.
That's right, and so you've got nice little battle there deep.
Try to stick in line here and maybe use a little bit of the draft to do what Josh Justice has done and pull himself onto the back of that battle.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, we saw in the first race, and we're seeing it here as well, you know, how strong the draft is on some of these straightaways. And even though these are, you know, very short 20-minute races, you start fighting for position in some of these areas where going side by side will slow you down. You may not be able to use that draft to get back up into position. Better to save the racing till the end. Better to be fighting for third or fourth, maybe at the 18-minute mark, rather than fighting for 10th or 11th. Here as we watch now, just as I say that, Andrew Benna taking a quick look to underneath Jim Brewster, who managed to get around Benna that last time we checked in, as they were coming down out of turn 12. Brewster had been running in 8th, Benna had been running in 7th, so swap them. And you'll see now here is we've got the drivers coming up towards the hairpin, our leaders. Or probably not our leaders, but that battle for second. It is against Slavonic, Forster, with Nichols and Josh Justice now locked in behind the number 5 machine, and we'll see as they make the long run down. Let's try that again. The long run down to turn 5. If Justice decides to poke to the inside, or if he's going to try and push Nichols a little bit closer.
Well, it looked like he had a little bit of a poke to the inside just to see if he could get Murphy to bite on it, but Murphy stayed on his line, and Josh is going to stay in line here. Looks like there was a little bit of side-by-side there in the back between Rosencroft and Benna, but now Beans Forster also looking pretty aggressive up ahead on Paul Slavonic, trying to see if he's able to get that move here down into the left-hander.
As we watch him now coming through the Grand Plaza. Again, there's a multiple apex section right behind the amphitheater, and as they make the run down towards turn 19. And this is one of those areas, DJ, where the drivers had been getting caught out by running wide, and looked as though Josh Justice in that blue number 99 machine was just about to get tossed off there, but keeps the car on track, keeps 2 wheels on the black stuff. And now evenly spaced in that battle for second as we jump a little bit further back. And this is Andrew Wozencroft in the white machine. Then we've got Andrew Benna in the blue 71, and then Megan Overstreet. Look at that run up the hill that Overstreet's making.
Yeah, and she's going to have the line. That's the better line, truly coming slow into the corner, fast out, thinking about making it 3 wide here down to the right-hander of turn 3. Megan's going to hold back a little bit, but no such luck for Wozencroft and Bennett. They're still going to be side by side as finally Bennett gives up the ghost.
Yeah, as he finally does, and I think, for a moment there, I think Overstreet was in the same position that she was just a week ago, trying to maybe sit back a little bit, bide her time, and see if something played out between these 2 drivers coming through the S's, but both of them keeping just enough racing room and giving enough racing room there as Wozencroft runs a little bit wide, coming off and over the crest at turn 10, but gets back all 4 wheels on the pavement as they come under braking down into the hairpin. All right, let's jump back and once again, this battle that never ends. Battle for second. Paul Slavonic, Beans Forster, Murphy Nichols. Nichols has now worked his way free of Josh Justice, and he's tucked right underneath the back of the 231 machine as they make the run down to 12.
Yeah, he's on a good run here. He's going to hold off, but it looks like it's going to be Beans Forster that tries to make the look down to the inside of Slavonic. But Slavonic, again, not going for that run. He certainly just wants to try to keep everything together, and he's not being deterred by anything to be able to go offline. Very, very heads-up stuff from him.
Yeah, and and watching Nichols as the third car in line there, I think it looks as though he's just trying to plan counter moves every time Beans Forster, because Forster has been, I think, the most aggressive of the bunch here in say in this group. That every time Forster, you can see, may turn in a little bit early, look to poke the car down underneath the 558 of Slavonic. Nichols just opens up the corner a little bit more, maybe turns in a little bit later, and tries to get a better run out of some of these corners. And we'll see how that plays out here as they come up the hill towards turn number 1, up towards Big Red.
Well, this has been an area where we've seen a lot of drivers attempting some passes. It looks like here that Nichols is thinking about it. He certainly got the run. Going to get a little bit of a bump there to Beans Forster, as now Beans is going to go down to the inside of Slavonic.
And you saw a little whiff of brake lock up there pre-apex as they come down the hill, and Forster carried a little more speed up the hill, could not get the car woed down in time to get around the apex and carry speed back down to Slavonic. Holds on to the position, and I think that extra little tap from Murphy Nichols, DJ, might have been a little bit more problematic than Beans Forster would want to admit there.
Yeah, I think so as well. That's just going to slow him down a little bit, and that was, I would have said, proved out a little bit, but the gap now at about 0.3 of a second between Slavonic and Forster. We check a little farther in the field here. This is Huffman, Gould, and Greenfield in a nice little battle for 11th place.
Yeah, and so Greenfield, who had that early off, he is now working to try and get his way back around Brad Gould and up to Huffman, and a great run there coming out of the S's, coming through turn 9 as Greenfield, for the moment, takes over 12th position. Gould, though, trying to come underneath, late braking, and really chops off the exit coming out of the hairpin. That might affect his speed and his run down towards turn 12. But again, it looks like he's able to lock in right to the back of the 36 machine, and maybe that I don't want to say it cures all ills, but certainly helped him coming out of the hairpin. Let's take a look now as Nichols trying to make a run around Beans Forster coming into the final corners here.
All right, as this battle continues to flip-flop back and forth, they've got to be a little bit careful. Josh Justice still lurking in the background. He is certainly one that could be able to catch up to the back here if they continue to fight and go too wide now through 17.
Yeah, they go too wide, and Murphy Nichols tucked right up behind both of them. But Forster now, he's got the inside position going into both turns at 19 and 20. We'll see if Slavonic can pinch down onto 231 coming into the final corner and maybe retard Beans Forster's run onto the front straight, but Forster goes and avoids, and Justice running wide coming out of the final corner. That's now going to move Jim Brewster up into 5th position as we now see Justice dropping back into 6th, and now side by side up the hill, big brake lock up from the number 5 from Murphy Nichols as Slavonic leads the trio back down the hill, and it is Forster and Nichols now in a battle for 3rd position.
Oh, now here it comes. How is this going to play itself out? Beans trying to be able to get a line here on Murphy Nichols, but Murphy just running the line like he wants to through the S's. That's exactly the strategy he wants to run.
Yeah, and he was there just, as Forster has, again, been the aggressor pretty much since the beginning of the race and trying to dictate, and probably less worried about Murphy Nichols than he was about Paul Slavonic ahead. Nichols taking advantage of that extra aggression is able to work past the number 231 machine into the final podium paying position, as it is Morgan Burkhardt now 11.5 seconds up the road. Paul Slavonic, as we're watching, then Murphy Nichols. But let's jump a little bit further back here as Megan Overstreet, who had an early spin coming out of the hairpin, has worked her way now back up into 8th position. She's got Andrew Wozencroft in the number 70, in the 80 machine, and then Andrew Benna a couple car lengths back from there. As looks like Overstreet and Wozencroft trying to work together, try to get back up to Chris Montgomery and Josh Justice in 6th and 7th.
Yeah, they're certainly working on each other here at this point, trying to find a little bit of room, but I think I like the strategy of sticking in line between Megan and Andrew here. Don't try to fight too much. It's only about 1.5 seconds up the road to Montgomery. They know they can get it, but here's a little bit of a battle. Justice and Montgomery, this is going to be music to the eyes here of Megan Overstreet. It's going to catch him in as Justice locks up.
There we go, and Justice having some issues with brake balance there, coming into turn number 16. Big wiggle there, and now we've got Montgomery and Justice again side by side. And so with Overstreet, Wozencroft, and Benna just a few moments ago being almost 10 car lengths back from the battle for for 6th position, they're now in the thick of it as they come out of turn 19 and then into the final corners onto the front straight to complete lap number 6.
Yeah, and we're ticking closer and closer to that 5 minutes to go mark. Lap times here at about 2:25s. It looks like it's being set by your leader, so not too many laps here to be done.
Yeah, and you know, DJ, we were maybe not astonished, but admiring the pace in the last race that Burkhardt and Schooler had. Oh, we've got a car that goes around coming out of Big Red, and that is, I believe that is Chris Montgomery. And so Montgomery now going to once again find himself in a fight with Josh Justice, but as part of that fight and as part of that off, it looks like Justice was involved as well. And so Overstreet, Wozencroft, and Benna all get around the 99 and the 313 machine. And let's see if we can see exactly what happened as they were coming down the hill.
All right, so this is on the run down out of turn 3. Let's see. Oh, this is a little bit farther back.
Yeah, they're coming out of turn 20, but maybe we'll follow this action for a little bit because, again, I think the incident was coming out of turn number 1. And so we'll see here is Justice right behind Montgomery as they go up the hill, under braking. You see Justice gets onto the brakes very early and then gets onto the throttle, gets right into the back of Montgomery, and looked like it didn't leave much room for Overstreet, Wozencroft, or Benna to get by, but indeed all three do. So move Overstreet up to 6th, Wozencroft to 7th, Benna to 8th. As we continue here, now is Murphy Nichols starting to show his aggression, trying to find a way around the 558 of Slavonic. And you know, as I've been watching this, DJ, Slavonic hasn't really had to do much as far as altering his lines to get very defensive. That it just seems like the two drivers behind him almost to a man have been maybe overdriving the cars and been their own worst enemies here.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. We haven't seen a lot of defense out of that 558. He has just been running the line he wants to run and trying to be able to do it, and it's been very, very successful. Now he's going to get a challenge here from Nichols coming up to the inside. Let's see. My bet is that he's going to try to go for a little bit of an over-under here is Paul Slavonic. Let's see if that plays out.
All right, and 2 brake lockups for Murphy Nichols, and that is indeed what it is, as Slavonic just runs, turns in late, comes underneath the number 5 machine, and opens up the advantage. And not only that, with Murphy Nichols' issues coming out of turn number 1, move Beans Forster now back up into 3rd position as the number 5 car was trying to recover, trying to get control of his machine all the way down the hill into turn number 2, but not before he loses a spot, as it is now Beans Forster's turn once again to attack the 558, as we now have less than 2 minutes remaining here at the Circuit of the Americas in tonight's Spec Racer Ford races. They come down the hill over towards the hairpin.
And it looks like there that Murphy Nichols trying to give a little bit of help to Beans Forster, trying to see what he is able to do. There he is able to pull back into the lead. Slavonic's going to go all the way back down to 4th, make that 3rd, as now he and Murphy Nichols are going to be in an absolute drag race here down the back straightaway.
Yeah, and there was nothing that Slavonic could do there as Nichols pushed the 231 machine by. But we'll see here now as they go 3 wide. I think we've seen this before. Nichols going very deep from the inside once again. Is he going to be able to hold the corner there? He does barely. Oh, and contact between Slavonic and Beans Forster as Slavonic was trying to work his way past Nichols as he had a very slow exit out of the corner here as they come down into turns 15 and 16. And it is Murphy Nichols now up into second position with Slavonic and Forster very close behind as they come into the stadiums, or probably into the Grand Plaza.
Well, and it looked like there the Beans was going to try to get a little bit of a run, but we've got to give a little bit of love back here to our leader because Morgan Burkhardt, much like he did in that first race, has dominated up at the front of the field, going to cross over the stripe and get 1 lap to go from Barney the Flagman.
There you go, is Burkhardt now moving up towards turn 1 with a 15-second advantage over Murphy Nichols, but Nichols not worried about that. He's got more to worry about. He's got more concerns with Beans Forster and Paul Slavonic, currently running 3rd and 4th directly behind the number 5 Slavonic, now moving to the inside on the 231, coming up the hill with a little more speed than he's carried so far. He's going to push the 231 machine wide coming out of turn number 1 and down the hill, move Slavonic for the moment up into second, but in the third, pardon me, but it is a very precarious position to be as there are only inches separating the noses of those cars, but coming through the S's now, the 558 works his way ahead, and he's got the number 5 in his sights as these 3 drivers now working their very last lap here at Circuit of the Americas.
They bring their way through the left-hander of turn 7. It looks like Beans is trying to line himself up here for a good run down through 9 and 10. We saw him do this move a little bit earlier, going down into the hairpin at turn 11. Is he going to try for it again? Let's see. It looks like he's a little bit too far behind. I think he's going to have to wait for the draft down the long straightaway.
Indeed, as they get under braking and Slavonic moving to the inside, turning in a little bit early into the hairpin just to hold off and be sure that he keeps the 231 behind him, but it is a long way down to turn 12, and Beans Forster very early on moving to the inside of Slavonic. They are going to go door to door, side pod to side pod down this long back straight. A little bit of a tap before they get into the braking zone here as Nichols is going to lead both Slavonic and Forster into 12. And look at that, Slavonic running all the way to the curbing, has to get on the binders, loses a ton of exit speed, and that puts Jim Brewster now in the position to take over 4th position.
Yeah, Brewster's now going to be trying to fight here to move his way up by Slavonic. The person who loves this the most, though, is Murphy Nichols, who's been able to scamper up to about 1.2 seconds in the gap.
All right, and coming out of the final corner, out of turn number 20, to take his 2nd win on the night, Morgan Burkhardt takes the win here at Circuit of the Americas. It is now 2 for 2 for Morgan in Spec Racer Ford. He is your undisputed championship leader coming into week number 3 as our next drivers come out of the final corner. And Murphy Nichols, he's going to come home in 2nd place. Beans Forster gets around Paul Slavonic, so Slavonic is going to finish just off the podium in 4th. Jim Brewster, he's going to finish 5th. Megan Overstreet makes up 8 positions. She finishes 6th this evening. Andrew Wozencroft in that white number 80 machine, he comes home in 7th. Andrew Benna will finish in 8th, and Josh Justice will come home 9th. Chris Montgomery rounds out the top 10.
Talk about a battle there as we watch our triumphant podium just kind of work their way around here, give each other a little bit of a victory salute as they come around. That was some of the closest, most intense battling I've seen here in the series for a long time.
Oh, indeed.
And frankly, so happy it didn't end in tears and we just got to see a great display all the way through.
Indeed. And I think, Larry, for Morgan Burkhardt, I think I just saw the closest he had been with some of his competitors since they threw the green flag to start this race, and it was on the cooldown lap. Another dominating win from Morgan Burkhardt. And so we're going to wait here, hopefully have some of our podium finishers pop into the green room, and we've got to tell you what, we've got Jim Brewster, and Brewster had a great run tonight, made up 5 positions. While we wait for some of our podium finishers, why don't we bring in the number 933 driver and hear about his evening.
Well, Jim, a good run there for you, up 5 on the day. How did you fare out there, and how was that racing out on Circuit of the Americas?
That's the place is amazing. That set of S's of 9 corners is so complex, and as an old guy, I tend to enter early and do all my investment on the exit. And on a complex thing like that, it was paying off. You just carry, exit. But it was a good day. No big, and I got a good show. Those guys fighting for second in front of me were putting on a whale of a fight.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you, as you looked up the road there, coming into that last couple of laps with Slavonic, those last couple of corners, actually, how close were you, do you think, being able to pip that 4th place away from him?
No, because he was faster. Just that they had such a battle that he just was the odd man out in that battle. But it was only really a few corners, and I'm not a dive bomber at all. I just a lot of time I make passes by waiting for a mistake. Every time I see you guys, it's because of survival. I always joke that I keep it on the black parts, but it's an awfully big part of this game.
Well, it's an awfully big part of the run, and you are certainly doing a great job. What are your goals for the season?
My goal is just to keep showing up and trying to put on a good performance. That's all I try to do. Hey, Mr. Ginsburg pulled off a class win on Sunday with us with the V's.
That's right. Yeah, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. I've been telling everybody how horrible I am in those Formula V's, and it was the same deal. I just laid back and tried not to get into any battles.
That
race 20 positions.
You'll see in my report this week. I put out a puzzle of all the different positions everybody had. And everybody changed. I mean, if you look at that lap chart, it is the craziest lap chart ever.
Indeed. Yeah, this was another one of the Ray Esports racing leagues, the Weekend Warriors Formula V League, which this past weekend was at the Road Atlanta short course. And yeah, it was a bull ring. A little bit wider bull ring than Lime Rock, but a bull ring nonetheless.
I was really excited that you got a good deal out of that. That was fun to see.
I appreciate it. All right, Jim Brewster, thank you so much. And
thank you guys. Thank to Stevie. Thanks to all you guys. Like I said, I still have my South American contingent watches every week. She watches Tuesday. She watches Sunday. She gives me a whole page of questions and comments, and she's a big fan of you guys, and as we all are.
Very, very cool. All right, thanks so much, Jim Brewster, driver of the number 933 Spec Racer Ford, finishing 5th tonight here at the Circuit of the Americas. All right, so DJ, let's... I just moved myself into the waiting room. All right, DJ, let's talk to some of our podium finishers here tonight in Spec Racer Ford. Let's start off with Beans Forster, finishing 3rd tonight in the number 231 machine.
Well, Beans, good to have you back on the podium, but you really had to fight for that one. That one looked like a great battle between yourself, Murphy, and Paul.
That was absolutely insane. I mean, the amount of times we were 3 wide and 2 wide through almost entire laps was just insane.
Well, how were you guys able to keep it clean as well as you did? Because I think with the exception of maybe just a little bit of side-to-side contact coming down the back straight, I don't think you guys made any contact at all.
And that's the one thing I love about this league is that everyone tries so hard to make moments like this where they're almost unbelievable. You run into so many situations where there's people that are just bumping you off the track left and right, except for here. And so credit to Jim and me and Paul and Murphy and Morgan ran away with it. So.
Well, now that we get to talk to you tonight, who makes this possible for you? Who do you want to thank for what was some of the best racing I've seen all year?
I want to thank Team Watson Racing and Full Sims for helping me kind of get through stuff like this. And I want to thank you guys and all the racers here.
Well, thank you so much, Beans. That was Beans Forster, your 3rd place finisher.
All right, there you go. It's easy to get them mixed up, DJ, when they were swapping positions practically single lap. We had to keep checking the order to see where they all finished up. All right, so let's move over now to Murphy Nichols. Made up, Murphy made up 2 positions, started 4th tonight, finished 2nd here at COTA in Spec Racer Ford.
Murphy, we just got done talking with Beans Forster. Talk me through that battle from your perspective, because that was incredible.
Well, for starters, I still can't wipe the smile off my face. Not just because I got second, but also just because of how amazing that was. Like, that was probably top 5, if not top 3 greatest races I've ever had on this. Like, easily best Spec Racer Ford race I've ever had. It was amazing. It was so unpredictable at times. Like, the draft was a lot stronger than I thought it was gonna be. It was good, clean, old-fashioned fun. Like, yeah, Morgan got away, but it was like, who cares? This is amazing for second. And like, we weren't focused on catching him. We were just trying to like have a good old dogfight for second, and that's exactly what happened.
I mean, that is exactly what happened. And what do you attribute it to? I mean, is it just the cars on a new update? Is it the track? What do you really chalk this up to?
I think it's just a little bit of everything. I mean, like, these are definitely draft-heavy machines. Like, you can be a couple tenths back and just be right on the bumper at the end of the long straight. This track has a little bit of everything. It has its good technical section where there's a lot of, like, back and forth. It's got its long straightaways where, like I mentioned with the draft, how you can just make up so much time there. And it also gives you like just some areas where you can pull away, like the S's, where that can really make or break how much time you have to somebody. And just these cars, like, they always tend to race really well. Sure, it can be a bit squirrely at times, but if you know what you're doing and you can make it work, and I'm sure just them being updated to like the proper specs, at least in my opinion, I think it's a lot better than what it was before. Like before, well, it was the Gen 2 before it became the Gen 3, but just I think it's just a little bit of everything that just made this race, especially in other Spec Racer Ford races, just so good.
I mean, it certainly was incredible, and I got to tell you that we were so excited to see you guys battling like that. But Murphy, who makes this possible, man? Who would you like to thank for today?
Big shout out to my parents, obviously, for doing this. Shout out to you guys, Beans and Paul, for keeping that clean the whole 20 minutes, even though it felt like an hour. Big shout out to Fourth Dimension Fun Center, Smoketown Brewing Station, Next Generation Security Systems, and all my other sponsors, and just everybody. Like, shout out to everybody. Why not?
Well, thank you so much, Murphy, and congratulations on second and an incredible battle.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. That was Murphy Nichols finishing second tonight here at Circuit of the Americas, and that leaves, I think, one person, DJ. Why don't we bring in, we've talked to him a lot tonight. Let's bring in, he's gotten a lot of airtime. Well, he didn't get a lot of airtime during either of the races. I'm counting the track guide. Let's bring in Morgan Burkhardt, our winner tonight in Spec Racer Ford, taking his second win of the evening.
Morgan, we talked to you again. Another dominant performance out there. What are you attributing this one to?
I'm gonna go with getting lucky with everybody fighting behind me, and I was kind of able just to go out and do some laps and not have to worry about the whole racing part of it, and just kind of go out and drive around. So it was kind of a simple one from my point of view. Just I got to focus simply on the driving part and not on having to plan where to defend and attack.
Well, you certainly made it look good out there, and talk to me a little bit about some of the differences that you have to sort of mentally do in that very quick session in between the MX-5 and the Spec Racer Ford. How do you make that jump?
Well, this actually, I unintentionally have been practicing for this since I was like 8 years old, with my ADHD 8-year-old brain, playing Gran Turismo and just hot lapping the Nürburgring in any car that I thought was good. So just doing that over and over again, it kind of made it really easy to just flip a switch in my brain and completely change the driving style. So you have to kind of drive the MX-5 sideways, and really you can throw it into corners and it's really forgiving. But the start, you have to be a lot more, I guess dainty is the right word. You have to be a lot more gentle with your input so that it'll actually rotate through the corner and not lock up or spin. So it's really just kind of flipping a switch in your brain and completely throwing out one driving style and bringing in another.
Well, I'll certainly be making notes of that. But is this a harbinger of things yet to come here in this series? Are you gunning for the championship?
I hope so. I mean, that's the plan. We'll see what happens for the rest of the season. I want to keep up this momentum as long as I can, but always the goal is to win the championship.
Well, we wish you luck in that, my friend, and we'll see you on down the road.
Thank you.
All right, there you go, Morgan Burkhardt, who DJ, I'm going to say it right now, probably would not have won if I was not on the front end of his car. Just over the right front tire. I'm just now, as I'm watching some of the replays, I could see my face with my cheesehead hat sitting right on the right front of his car. But so congratulations to Morgan Burkhardt for taking the win in Spec Racer Ford. And so as we wrap things up here from the Circuit of the Americas, as I was alluding to before. This weekend, the SCCA is going to be at the real life Circuit of the Americas, and we're going to have some Ray Esports racers. We're going to have John and Grant Vogel. We're going to have Josh Justice. We're also going to have some reigning and also former national champions in Spec Racer Ford in particular. I think we've got, as I'm looking now, I think almost 45 Spec Racer Fords are going to be racing both on Saturday and Sunday, and the number of different races, I believe 7 different races. Qualifying will start at 8 o'clock Central Time on both Saturday and Sunday. If you want to see myself and hear myself and my announcing partner Brian Bolansky, you can go to the SCCA official YouTube page, and again we'll be on air right around 8 a.m. both days. But let's forget talking about that. Let's talk about next Tuesday night, DJ. Where we're going to have week number 3 of the Ray Esports Racing League's 2023 winter season, and we're going to the National Park of Speed Road America. We're going to have the Tin Tops, the touring cars return. They're going to be the first race up in the next Tuesday evening. We'll have those GR86 Cup cars and Volkswagen Jettas, and that one should be quite interesting, as we know the Jettas have actually a little bit more straight line speed than the GR86s, and I think they're going to be spending 4 miles a lap trying to get out of each other's way. And then we're going to wrap things up once again with the Spec Miatas, with the MX-5 Cup cars from again Road America, the National Park of Speed. That is going to be next Tuesday evening, February 14th, Valentine's Day. So we'll see those touring cars, I think, kissing each other all the way down the Moraine Sweep there. Again, spend your Valentine's Day with us. Don't go out for a big dinner with your girlfriend or wife. And it should be some great racing from Road America. So for DJ Clark, for Jonathan Grabowski behind the scenes, I'm Greg Ginsburg. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Hopefully I'll see you this weekend at COTA, and if not, we'll see you next Tuesday night at a virtual Road America. Have a great week, everybody.